Alright guys, we are almost at the end of 2024 and we've got plenty to go through in today's video. All the championship matches coming up on Boxing Day will be previewed in today's video, and we're also going to be discussing all the action that went down in the championship over the weekend. As always, I want to get your thoughts on all the action in the comments down below. Make sure to go ahead and drop your Boxing Day score predictions down there. And if we get it 400 likes, that would be massively appreciated as well. I hope everyone watching goes on to have a fantastic Christmas, but without any further ado, let's preview these Boxing Day matches. So starting out at Ewood Park for Blackburn up against Sunderland. Blackburn losing last time out against Millwall. To be honest, they were probably due a loss given the unbelievable form they've been on recently. Still looking at the wider form book, despite that loss against Millwall last time out, it's still 6 wins from their last 7 matches. This one won't be easy though against a Sunderland side who currently sits 6 points above Blackburn in the league table. Got a good win last time out against Norwich as well. Joe Bellingham with the winner in that one, took his goal well, didn't he? One thing I have noticed about Sunderland recently though is they have been pretty susceptible to conceding first in matches. That's now 4 of their last 5 championship games where Sunderland have been the team to concede first, and going up against a side like Blackburn who tend to be pretty good at hanging on to leads when they score the first goal. You know, think of how many games Blackburn have won 1-0 this season, for instance. The Black Cats could find themselves potentially a little bit unstuck if they do start this game slowly. To be honest though, I don't see there being much in it between these two. Sunderland are going to pack out that away end at Ewood Park, aren't they? But Blackburn don't tend to lose many games at home. Score prediction here, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw to kick off Boxing Day. After that we go to Ashton Gate for Bristol City up against Luton. Bristol City don't find themselves on the best run of form right now following that loss against West Brom over the weekend. It's now just 1 win from their last 7 league matches. Didn't create much in the final third in that one against West Brom, but I would fancy them to get a goal or two in this one against a Luton side who have been really bad on the road of late. Now, to be fair to Rob Edwards' side, they managed to just about get over the line against Derby on Friday night. A late turnaround in that game where on another day they very easily could have lost that one, but late goals from Holmes and Morris managed to ensure it was all 3 points. It's just been such a conflict right now. Luton's home form compared to their away form. They've lost their last 7 games on the road, and I really think that's something Bristol City could look to take advantage of here. Score prediction for me in this one, I'm going to go 2-1 Bristol City. And next up we go to Coventry up against Plymouth, and this one could be a bit of a tasty affair. Coventry coming off the back of a shock 4-1 defeat away at Portsmouth last time out. Defensively, Cov were a little bit all over the place in that game, weren't they? Collins in between the sticks in particular didn't cover himself in glory for some of those goals, but surely they'll fancy themselves to bounce back in this one against a Plymouth side who are still looking for their first win on the road this season. In saying that, I do think we've seen a bit of a reaction from Plymouth in their last couple of performances. Thought they gave a decent account of themselves away at Sheffield United, and hey, they could have won that game over the weekend against Middlesbrough. In the end, it was a bonkers 3-3 draw. Got themselves into some really good goal scoring areas. It was just at the other end of the pitch where they let themselves down. This game I do fancy to be quite open, to be honest with you. Plymouth have conceded more goals than any other championship club on the road this season, and while Coventry have been pretty inconsistent in front of goal themselves, only Middlesbrough and Leeds have accumulated a higher XG than Coventry have up until this point in the season. So they tend to get into some really good areas, as they did over the weekend against Portsmouth, to be honest with you. They just don't always take their chances. Score prediction for this one though, I am going to back Coventry for a bounce back. I'm going to go 3-1 Cov in that game, and for Lampard to get one over on Rooney. After that we go to the Riverside for Middlesbrough up against Sheffield Wednesday, and do you know what, I don't think there'll be a great deal between these sides in this one. For Sheffield Wednesday, it's just 1 loss in their last 7 matches, reacted really well after losing that Steel City derby. Good win for them over the weekend against Stoke, despite playing that entire second half down to 10 men, managed to grind out the 3 points in the end with 2 second half strikes, and generally speaking they've been pretty good away from home recently as well. They've won their last 3 matches on the road. Going up against a Borough side who themselves have been pretty decent at home. They've won 4 out of their last 6 matches at the Riverside. Last time out against Plymouth, bit of a frustrating one really, but they did come back from a goal behind on 3 separate occasions to tie that game up at 3-3 in the end. From Borough's perspective, they'll probably seen that one as 2 points dropped, but with an opportunity here to get back to winning ways against Wednesday, a draw wouldn't surprise me. I think I'm just edging it ever so slightly to Borough with home advantage. Wednesday can't be ruled out on the road, but score prediction there, I'm going to go 2-1 Middlesbrough. I think it could be a 1-goal either way sort of affair. After that, we go to Carrow Road for Norwich up against Millwall. Norwich could really do with a result in this one. It's now 4 without a win for Johannes Hoffthorpe's side. It was a loss last time out against Sunderland. Got themselves into a really good lead in that game at the Stadium of Light, but second half they were already up against it before Cordoba got sent off, and shortly after that red card, Sunderland went on to score the winner. They're going up against the Millwall side, who I think will be quite hard to call over these next few fixtures. I do think we will get a bit of inconsistency about them, but really pulled a result out the bag over the weekend against Blackburn. Prior to that game, they were without a win in their last 6 championship matches, but based on the general flow of that game against Blackburn, if either team was going to go on and win it, it was always going to be Millwall, and it took them until the 96th minute in the end. But yeah, a great result for Millwall, especially after some of their recent games. I fancy this one to be quite tight, to be honest with you. Millwall don't tend to score that many goals on the road. They've only won once away from home all season. Norwich, there's a lot of inconsistency about them at the moment, but I still think they've got a few goals in them. Score prediction in this one, I'm just going to edge it towards Norwich with home advantage, but that one I could see being pretty tight. After that, we go to a huge game at the bottom of the Championship. It's Oxford going up against Cardiff. Both sides coming off the back of a loss over the weekend. I think we all thought that that game away at Ellen Road was going to be a really tough one for Oxford. In the end, it proved to be just that. They're coming off the back of a 4-0 loss. Now means it's just 1 win in their last 15 Championship matches. I think that really emphasises just how much work Gary Rowett is going to need to undertake to keep this side up. But this is a real opportunity against a Cardiff side who are winless now in their last 8 matches. Obviously, they're coming off the back of a tough game themselves over the weekend against Sheffield United. One thing I would say about Cardiff, and for as bad as they've been in especially home fixtures recently, away from home they've not actually been that bad. They've only lost 1 of their last 6 away matches, and I do tend to think that playing away from home almost suits this Cardiff squad a little bit more. When they put the onus on the opposition to come on to them a little bit more, they get to play on counters and things like that. I generally think that that tends to suit that group of players a little bit more. I think the pressure probably will be on Oxford here, with them being the home team in this fixture. Listen, it screams of a draw, doesn't it, with 2 sides badly lacking confidence right now, but with Cardiff maybe being a little bit more streetwise on the road. Score prediction here, I've got a gut feeling they could just shade it. I'm going to go 2-1 Cardiff in that game, but Gary Rowett, first home fixture in charge, he very well could conjure up something for that game. Next up, we go to Deepdale for Preston up against Hull City. A massive result for Ruben Sellers last time out, beating Swansea 2-1. We sort of said that about Sellers going in at Hull. Between now and the January window opening, it was all about getting as many points on the board as possible, and then hopefully he's given a little bit of a cash injection in January with some of the players that Hull are able to bring in. To be honest, there could be a bit of a swing in and around the bottom of the Championship on Boxing Day, with Oxford playing Cardiff. If Hull win this one against Preston, they'll only be 1 point behind us in the league table, and Preston are coming off the back of, I mean, what was, let's face it, a really poor showing against QPR. First half I thought we were all right, but second half was amongst the worst we've played so far this season. And it has to be said about North End right now, we have tended to struggle against the sides in and around the bottom end of the Championship. Of the teams that are currently below us in the league table, we've already dropped points this season against Stoke, Portsmouth, Oxford and Plymouth. So with Hull coming off the back of a win against Swansea, I think they'll make it tough for us in this one. Hull have now taken 4 points from their last 3 matches, which, given the situation at hand when Sellers first came into the club, I don't think that points return is to be sniffed at whatsoever. Preston, I mean, we've just been so draw heavy this season, haven't we? 50% of our matches in the league this season have ended as draws, and I think that's how I'm going to call this one. Score prediction, 1-1 I'm saying between Hull and Preston. After that, and to a huge game at the top of the Championship, it's Sheffield United hosting Burnley. Both sides coming off the back of a good result over the weekend. Sheffield United with that 2-0 triumph away at Cardiff, and Burnley coming through what was definitely a bit of a potential banana skin game against Watford, but holding out for all 3 points in the end and winning it 2-1. This is a clash of the 2 best defences in the league right now. Burnley, who have only conceded 9 goals in their 22 championship matches so far this season, and Sheff United not much worse off. They've only conceded 11 in their 22 games this far into the campaign. Sheff United still unbeaten at Bramall Lane this season, but say what you like about Scott Parker and his football not always being the best on the eye or anything like that, but generally speaking, in these big clashes tactically, he tends to get it pretty spot on. Let's not forget, Burnley are the only team to go to Ellen Road this season and walk away with all 3 points. Sheff United barely concede any goals though, especially in home matches. It feels like a really tight low scorer, this one, doesn't it? 1 goal either way wouldn't surprise me, but I think I'm going to have to sit on the fence and go for a 1-1 draw between these two. Don't think there'll be much to separate, especially with how Burnley like to set up on the road, but if Sheff United win that game, boy, would that be a statement of intent as they pull 7 points clear of Burnley, which would be, yeah, like I say, a huge statement of intent. After that, we go to Swansea up against QPR. Swansea will be looking to bounce back from an away defeat against Hull City last time out. And a bit of a concerning stat here for Swansea fans is that only Cardiff and Hull have picked up fewer points in home matches so far this season than Swansea have. Generally speaking, Swansea have tended to perform better on the road this season than they have at the Liberty, albeit they lost last time out against Hull. Going up against the QPR side, who are on a good unbeaten run right now. It's now 7 games without a loss for Marty Cifuentes' side, who have now properly pulled themselves away from that relegation scrap and into mid-table. A good win for them last time out against my side, Preston North End, and I mean, they left it late to score the winner in that game, but second half in particular, it was all one-way traffic for QPR, and I think in the end it was a deserved 3 points for them. On the road of late, I mean, thinking back to that game against Bristol City in particular, QPR have been pretty happy to sort of sit in, soak up a lot of pressure and try to hit teams on the counter-attack. I'd imagine they go for a similar game plan in this game. Score prediction, I fancy it to be another draw, 1-1 between these two. I've gone for a lot of draws so far, but don't think there'll be a great deal to separate them there. Next then we go to Watford up against Portsmouth. Watford looking to bounce back from a loss last time out against Burnley. It does have to be said, generally speaking, I do think there has been quite the contrast in performance levels from Watford in home matches compared to away games. Listen, over the weekend against Burnley was always going to be very tough, but I have thought on a few occasions with Watford away this season that they've not quite been up to scratch, but at home that never seems to be the case. Still unbeaten at Vicarage Road this season. Only Sheffield United and Leeds have taken more points from home matches than Tom Cleverley's side have, and I think they'll make things tricky for Portsmouth in this one, albeit a Portsmouth side who should be playing with plenty of confidence right now. Brilliant way to bounce back from what was a pretty dismal away performance against Derby, with a fantastic display against Coventry. Callum Lang, the star of the show in that one, scoring all 4 goals for John Mousinho's side. And it now means the wider picture is looking pretty good for Portsmouth in terms of the form book. It's just 1 loss in their last 6 matches. With all that being said though, it does feel like every once in a while Portsmouth can have a bit of a clanger on the road, and with Watford being pretty flawless in their home matches so far this season, score prediction for this one, I'm going to go 2-1 Watford and just edge Cleverley's side with home advantage. Next then we go to Derby up against West Brom. A real gutting result for Derby on Friday night, losing in the circumstances they did against Luton. Despite having led for the vast majority of that second half, they ended up losing it thanks to goals in the 89th and 92nd minute. This one won't be easy against the West Brom side, coming off the back of a good result against Bristol City over the weekend. Feels like West Brom have finally managed to buck the trend of that ridiculous drawing streak they've had. They've got 2 wins and a loss in their last 3 matches now, so 6 points taken from the last 9 available. Derby's biggest threat so far this season has been scoring from set pieces, but West Brom have actually been the best defensive side in the league when it comes to the fewest amount of set pieces they've conceded so far this season. So from my perspective, it feels like West Brom are fairly well equipped to deal with the things that Derby will likely throw at them for this game, and for that reason, I'm going to go 2-1 West Brom in this game as a prediction. And then to finish things off at the Bet365 Stadium for Stoke up against Leeds United. For Leeds, it was a comfortable 3 points last time out against Oxford, beating them by 4-0. Can they play with that same sort of swagger in their away games though? That's the real test for Daniel Farke's side, and ultimately honestly, I think what will determine whether they finish in the top 2 this season. They've been pretty flawless at home this season. Away from home, they've left a little bit to be desired, especially in recent performances. Thinking back to their recent away games against Preston and Blackburn, Leeds I thought looked a bit lacklustre in both of those fixtures, albeit I think this is a really good time to be playing Stoke, who are down on confidence right now. They lost over the weekend against Sheffield Wednesday, despite playing the second half of that game against 10 men. It now means it's no wins in their last 8 league matches, and especially if Leeds score first in this game, the crowd could turn really toxic for this one, which I think is an environment that Leeds could thrive in, especially with a sold-out away end. It does seem to have been the case in a few away performances with Leeds this season, where they've tended to play with the handbrake on a little bit, and I do think if Stoke score first in this one, they could make things tricky for Leeds, but with the way both teams have been playing recently, it's hard to look past the Leeds win for this one. Score prediction here, I'm going to go 2-0 Leeds for that matchup. Well guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and get all your score predictions in the comments down below. But apart from that guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.